So they've got a really nice. So one of the things that I struggled with very much in Destiny is that stat balancing was really tough. So do you know anything about Destiny?
Discipline.
So there's three.
Strength.
Yeah, there's three. What are those?
Strength reduces the time of your grenade.
No,
or that's
melee.
What? Oh, of your
Discipline is
melee.
grenade.
Discipline's grenade. Strength is melee, and intellect is special. Super, right?
Yes. So, you were kind of thrown to the winds of fate on what your gear buffed. So you could either be like, okay, so this faction has this gear, and they typically buff these two stats. Or this vendor's got this. The Crucible Quartermaster, Shax has got this. This Shax has got himself this chest piece, and it's got a stat I want to buff because I'm low on that.
Yeah.
You could buy that. But there wasn't any. But aesthetically, you couldn't be like, I really like this armor piece.
Yeah.
But it's got these buffs. There's nothing you can do about that.
Well, nobody cares because the stats are stupid. They do nothing. What's your arm doing there?
They do something. They're very useful.
Sure, it makes them go faster.
Yes, it does. It's very, but some weapons especially have certain, perks associated with them that become very important. Like with rocket launchers, there's your tracking, your cluster bomb, and your tripod, which allows you to carry 3 rockets. Those are very important things. Also, grenades and horseshoes is a good one because that makes it explode before it hits its target. So, generally when you want a rocket launch, you want to get one of those 2 things, but you can't really control that. So what you do, since the update, is you go to the gunsmith and you take a motive light and take some weapon parts, some glimmer, and you're like, I want to re-roll this. So I'll, spend these things and get a completely random roll for this gun back. Different elemental, possibly, different, perks on it.
Sure.
And you keep doing that until you get something you like. Obviously, that can get really, really expensive.
Yeah.
People did that for a while just to get the right rocket launcher, or whatchamacallit. And that was one way you could control what you got. But you can't do something like that with armor.
Sure. You can't.
What they did do, but you can't do anymore, is... wasn't dark... Okay, it was... What was end of year 1?
The wolves.
Yes. House of Wolves. House of Wolves, they allowed you to ascend your weapons to maximum damage or maximum
That's not really
defense.
how
It was like a
it's a casualization.
It was like a transmog almost, because you could take,
Indeed.
You got some low level items. You're like, I want this to be top tier
Because it looks great.
because it looks cool and it's got perks I like. You could do that. You can't do that anymore because they're not.
Because they're being a real RPG.
Your 1 item's back. For what they do have is you can take anything you have and infuse it to make it higher and higher. That gets really tedious though. Anyway, very little control over re-rolling, rebalancing your stats. The point is, the Division's got a really nice system.
Okay, good.
In that you can take, first off, they've got a pretty in-depth crafting system. I don't know if in-depth is the right word, but you can craft a lot of stuff.
Uh-huh.
A lot of high-end stuff if you've got the materials. You can craft stuff, and it gives you a random roll on what you get as far as stats go.
Sure.
Again, there's 3 stats. There's a lot of stats, but there's 3 major stats that your armored pieces control, and that's firearms, stamina, and electronics. One of those controls your DPS, one of those controls your health, and the other one controls skill power. And they also all contribute to whether or not certain items have certain skills attributed with them. So,
do you at any point along the game see the characters 2%?
absolutely.
Oh well, good. It's a real RPG.
You know, you'd hopefully get something better than that, but lower levels. 2% optimal range.
Oh well, do you?
2% cooldown on this. 2% reload speed.
What about in terms of like a talent or a skill?
Yeah.
You might see something as
Like 2%
small
explosion
as 2%.
radius. 2%.
Well, it's a real RPG. It's a real RPG.
Anyway, but what I'm saying is, you got your crafting system. You also buy stuff from vendors that have set skills attributed to them. But once you have that, you've got a recalibration table in your tech wing upstairs, where you can take any item you've got, any armor piece, and it's got a list of attributes it's got. You can take any one of those, hit recalibrate, and it shows you what's on that item.
Sure.
You can hover over each specific attribute. It can show you what you can possibly get if you re-roll that.
Sure.
Leaving?
I'm just gonna get some water. Keep talking.
Okay. It'll show you what you can possibly get back for re-rolling that, and how much it'll cost. If it's a higher tier item, it costs more to re-roll it. So you re-roll it on whatever specific attribute you want. And note that this is different from Destiny because you completely re-roll the entire thing in Destiny, and it's a weapon.
Oh, sure.
And then once you re-roll that specific thing, it gives you a choice between like 4 or 5 different.
Well, that's casual.
Casual, huh? 4 or 5 different things you could pick, randomized, and also of varying efficacy.
But if you want that one thing,
Yeah, like so. Let's say I want to, because I tend to want to run a balanced set for my guy. So when I've got something that's way
sort of
out
like
of
how I
whack-
always made Barathor sort of even
Okay.
stats.
Yeah.
Age.
So when I've got a real imbalance on like electronics, which I tend to have a lot, I'll go, okay, so I'll take my mask and say, okay, okay, let's re-roll this because it's buffing electronics like 450 or something. Let's re-roll that, so let's make it buff instead firearms, and let's also re-roll like my chest piece to instead of like giving me a 5% bonus against elites, let's make that have just a gear mod slot, so I can add a advanced electronics or an advanced stamina mod there, so I can keep my health roughly centered as well.
Never-ending character customization. It's very deep.
Not character customization, stats,
But
stat balancing. That's what I appreciate
different
about
play styles.
Yeah. So like Brewster, he like doesn't really use skills, so he mostly buffs firearms and stamina. Anyway, I really like how they've implemented